Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to do the standard truck skill report. This is just when you have just a regular truck and no test cart and you're doing these sections with your test truck and then of course loading your weights on at the end. You'll want to go to forms and come and just look at standard vehicle test report, and it even explains each report to you, and this will be using a test truck and returning to each section to test for the repeat and then performing an increasing decreasing load test. Alright, so just like all the other reports, you're going to have a title, so we'll just come in here and we're just going to call this, we'll just call it test report. How about that? So we'll say test, and then we're going to add a location, and I have a location in here. I'm just going to, and as I type it in, it'll start narrowing it down. There it is. You also have the name and the ID number right here. This right here is going to be the test of when the inspection was performed. You'll want to do that right there. So whatever date work was done on, this is the date that you put in here. All right, we're going to say this is guy's wood yard, so the commodity is weighed is wood. All right, the last time this was tested, we'll just pick May of 2020. Just whenever the last time this thing was inspected. Should have a sticker on there to let you know when it was done. Now we're going to get to the indicator side of things. We'll call this Scale Company Incorporated. So we'll just call this SCINC. Model number, we'll call this the Scale Company 2000. And the serial number is 1, 2, 3, 4. It can be whatever it needs to be. Just make sure you get the serial number off the indicator. And then the nominal capacity, we're just going to call this a 120,000 pound scale. A lot of them will go up to 200, but we'll just say 120 just for the video's sake here. The section capacity, we'll call this 80,000. And then graduation, of course, will be 20 pounds. And if you notice here, I didn't put pounds on anything. You don't have to. It's already assumed. If it's anything else other than pounds, then you might need to make a remark here, or maybe a remark down in the remarks section that it is not in pounds, that it is in whatever else it may be in. All right, the type of indicator, we're just talking about strictly the indicator. It can be either a beam, dial, or electronic. This is going to be a newer scale, so we'll just call it an electronic scale. Printer type, you have a couple of different options for your printer types. We're just going to do a standard run-of-the-mill truck scale, so he's just got a standard printer. We'll just call this just a printer. If it has a computer hooked up to it or both, you would need to make that comment here also. All right, now we're going to move on to the deck information. This is the manufacturer of the deck. We'll just call this Scale Company Incorporated, and we'll call this one the Scale Company 5000. And then the serial number, we can just call it whatever we need to call it. It's on the deck. Pit depth, this is where you would put the depth of the pit. A lot of scales, newer scales, are no longer in pits. So that's when you would just call this above ground. So that's what we'll do. What you'll want to do, though, is you want to make sure you note it enough to where your customer or somebody who may not know as much can read this and understand what's going on. I mean, you could just put A period, G period in there if you wanted to for above ground, or AG. But just make sure whatever you note that it's something that's anybody can read it and understand. Platform size, we'll just do the standard 11 by 80. We're going to know that that's feet. If it's anything else other than feet, then you can make a note in the remarks section, or you can note it here. All right, the type of scale that the base is it a mechanical or is it an electronic? This is going to be a newer one. We'll call it an electronic. Condition of the pit. If it is not a pit scale, it's still above ground, you could still make comments here about the foundation or how clean or dirty it was underneath there. We're going to say this is good because this is going to be a newer install. Condition of the platform itself, the weighing platform, we'll call this good. This is where you would need to make any notes to make sure that everything is noted so the customer knows if anything needs to have attention done or whatever, you can do it here. Same thing with the approaches. Are the approaches in still good shape? They're not sinking, they're not cracking, anything like that. Make sure you note that in the section here. All right, now we're going to get into the increasing and decreasing load test. Some people like to do the sections test first. You can do it either way. We're going to do the increasing, decreasing load first. So we're going to say section 1, applied weight, and this is going to be as found. Okay, so you always start with 0 and end with 0. So let's say the scale weighed great on 0, and I'm going to click add that entry, and you'll see down here it now has your new entry. It gives you a little bit of information so you know maybe what section or your last applied weight is, and give you a little bit of information. Make sure you know you saved it. So now we're going to come in here and we're going to say section 1, and let's say we started with 8,000 pounds. And we're going to say this one weighed, let's just say it weighed 20 pounds light. All right, we're going to say minus 20, add that entry. All right, and we're going to go on here, section 1, we'll say 16,000. We'll say this one weighed 20 pounds heavy. Okay, 20. There you go. As you see, your sections are now adding and adding down here, and this can be as many tests as you need. You know, apply as many weights as you would like. Applied weight, we'll go up to the next one. We'll say 24,000. And then reading, we'll say this one's 24,000. Air, we'll say 0. All right. Now we're going to decrease, and let's say we applied the 16,000 pounds and got the same thing. Well, over here you have an option. You can edit this entry, you can copy it, or you can actually delete it or remove it. Let's just do this. Let's say it weighed the same going down as it did up. So you don't have to retype all this information in. You can just click copy and then hit add entry, and there it added in there. So you want 0, 8,000, 16, 24, back down to 16. Let's say 8,000 was the same going down or up, or we could actually just hit repeat, copy it, and just say it weighed the same, it weighed better coming down, and add entry. And then let's say, as you see now, you got so to the 0. All right, let's say it repeated back to 0. You hit entry. So now you got 0, 8,000, 16, 24, 16, 8, and 0. Okay. This may not be the way you test every scale. Just make sure you go by Handbook 44 and their testing procedures and any state laws that may apply to after that. But this is how we're going to do it. Okay. Well, all this is in tolerance, so there's no need in doing an as left. We just did an as found, and if you had to make any adjustments or whatever, then you would just do an as left. And this would work just like this right here. You would just have an as left section. Okay? Let's just say, just for the video's sake, we went ahead and did an adjustment and got that 20-pound error out. Okay? So we'll say section 1, applied weight, 0, 0, 0. I'm going to go through this kind of quickly because you've already seen this. I'm just going to do this for our report. We'll do 8,000. We'll say 8,000. 0. Applied weight. Section 1. 16,000. Reading was 16,000. Error 0. You did a good job adjusting it. Section 1. 24,000. 24,000. 0. Alright, now we just did our increasing. Now let's do our decreasing. Weighed great, so we're going to hit copy, hit add that entry, and then there it is. We're going to hit copy on the 8,000 pound one. Brings it up, we add it, there it is. So there it is. Now we're going to copy the 0 reading because it went right back to 0, weighed great. We're going to say, there it goes. So now you have 0, 8, 16, 24, 16, 8, and 0. Alright, that was a little quick, but Should be fairly easy to understand. All right, so now we're done with the increasing and decreasing load, and we're going to do the section test. Now, you don't have to do the increasing, decreasing load first. You can come down here and do the section test first if you would like to. Okay, so we've made the adjustment, so now we're about to run the sections. We're going to call this let's call this a 4-section scale. That's kind of your standard run-of-the-mill. So section 1, and let's say our truck weighed 54,000 pounds. Okay, so now you got your 54,000 pounds. You run it on section 1, and you can do a couple of different ways. Since you're going to have to come back and do repeatability, we'll just say section 1 did this, and then we're going to add it. Even though it's not completed yet, we're going to go to section 2. We're going to say 54,000 pounds. We'll say this thing weighed great because you just adjusted it. All right, section 3, 54. And then we'll say section 4. Let's throw just a little error in here so you can see how some of this is going to be done and add there, okay? Now you're done with that. You're going to back up to section 1. All right, you're going to hit the little edit button, and you're going to come in here, and let's say it weighed great. So your error is 0. Update entry. Let's say you go into section 2. We're going to edit section 2. We're going to say this one weighed great. Error was 0. And then we're going to go in here and say section 3. Edit. 4. 0. Update entry. Section 4. Let's say this thing went back to 0. And that one's a 20-pound error. We're going to update entry, and there you go. Now we're going to do our range, your minimum weight. We look up here, and your minimum weight was 54,000. So we're going to say 54,000. Maximum weight was right here. You had 54,020. 54,020. So your range was 20 pounds. Okay? And let's say you had a balance change of 20 pounds. Okay? Because right here, you changed 20 pounds. It was reading originally 54,020, and then you went over it again, and you had 54,000. Okay? So now, we didn't do an as left because this scale is, we adjusted it first and then ran the sections. So, but if you were to redo the sections again here, it would be just like you did right here and here. You can just do your as left right there. All right. Same thing here. If you had a minimum weight, maximum weight, and your balance change again, you need to test that out. Now, was this device in full compliance? Was everything else on it working? Markings, everything, all the laws and regulations, not just calibration. We're going to say yes, this is a newer scale. Everything's done, the markings, the approaches, everything's great on this thing. Tolerance applied, we're going to say maintenance because we're just doing a routine check. Action taken, we are going to say we adjusted it. All right. Remarks, we're just going to say adjusted scale. And then, any other remarks. Scale had to be clean. Whatever you do, you have to put remarks in here. It'll even have a little red asterisk right here to let you know. And of course, in all your remarks boxes, you can make this as big or as little as you need to. And it doesn't matter where you leave it. The report will trim off any space. All right, and this is where you have your owner operator, John. We'll call him John Doe. This is the guy that you talk to about all your calibration stuff, the one who's going to sign for your paperwork. And then, of course, depending on what kind of computer you have, whether it's a touch screen or a pen or a mouse, this will allow you to send. Let's say I signed in the wrong spot, hit clear. So John Doe needs to sign this. Then you save it. Make sure it tells you that it's successfully saved. You say OK. And then down to your part. It automatically autofills this in because you're logged in as that person. So you'll just say Wes Seals and then save it, and you are good to go. Now that you're done, you can come back through this report, view anything, look for anything that needs to be done or changed or anything. Everything looks pretty good. So we're going to come down here and we're going to say submit form. And this is where it would tell you if either you had an error and what your error was, or it should tell you your report has been successfully submitted. Make sure you view this. Now, at this time, you have an option to email somebody this form, and you can just type in their email address, you know, and you want to add somebody else to it, just add another email. You can add as many emails as you need to. And then you can also type a little note that goes with the report. This is your report. That way, if you don't want to print it out and you want to email it to your customer, you can. And you click submit. And then, oh, it didn't like this because there is not enough emails in here. So we'll say Wes Seals at AGI. We'll fill them all in. And then there you go. Make sure you have those email addresses filled out if you add a blank box to it. All right. Return to dashboard. Now you can also go in here and check to see if your report was done. And here we go. This is your report. You'll click on it, and it'll bring up your test report and the information you've entered. Depending on how fast your internet is, it'll take how long it takes to actually fill it out. You also have a view PDF. I'm going to click the view PDF, and it'll tell you to please wait while it's generated. And then, of course, while you're waiting for it to generate, you can look at your test report here. As you can see, there's my as found, and then my as left, and then there is my sections with my balance change. We didn't do anything as an as left, and then your comments, signatures, and everything there. Now, once your PDF is downloaded, this is what's actually going to be sent in the email. Whatever you email somebody or you have an automatic email, this is the actual report that will be emailed. And that finishes up the test report for the standard truck skill report. Thank you very much.